Good morning. Today is July 31st. It's about 8:35 in the morning. The temperature is about 62, 63 degrees. The bugs aren't bad. So we are in the Green Mountains today, and we are going to be heading into the Bowtie area today. The 5 bogs have basically been quiet of late, so we are going to hit that and do a heartbeat on the way out. But we're looking here today. The subject I call number 3 is possibly in the area, so we're going to look for him for a change of pace because the other ones have been kind of quiet to the southwest of here. So we're going to give this a shot today and get some things done in here. That is my plan. I'm going to get on the trail and the day will develop as it does. En route to the area designated the Sandy Meadow and walking through so many spider webs. And the camera will behave or not. I'm not going to get too grumpy about it. There's a subject I wanted to cover today, and it's been on my mind for a few weeks now because I actually think it's kind of important and might ruffle a feather or two because of some previous, not so distant, perceived disputes on the part of some with thin skin. But, you know, their take on it would be, well, you're attacking me and my friends, and all I can say to that is grow up, because that's not the case. I'm talking about conferences, and I am not a conference goer by nature. Those who know me know this. I'd rather spend time in the field than basically buying t-shirts or socializing at what is basically a Comic-Con or a convention or whatever. If that's your thing, there's nothing wrong with that. It's just not my thing. So before anyone goes and gets all hot-blooded and offended about it, don't. Because one, you're not going to change my mind, and two, I'm not attacking what you do. It's just not my thing. On the same level of logic, I have nothing against bikers, and yet I don't own a Harley either. It's just, as much as I enjoy a good bike show on the beach once a year, back home, I'm not a biker. I just enjoy that, but that's their thing, not mine. If anything, I'm a spectator to it. Back to the subject. Specifically, what is my point in this little rant on the way to the office is conferences during the time of COVID. And this is something that I think is really a valid issue. The elephant in the room, and the one that might ruffle feathers, is the one that is obvious to me on the eastern side of the country, being the Ohio conference. And there are those who may or may not hear me say this, and you know who you are, before you get all put out and grumpy and accusing. Get over yourself. Anyway, is it really so important to go into a state where you're automatically going to have to self-quarantine for, this is what I was thinking about, I'm going to walk around. Actually, this might be new. However, no, I remember this. Sorry, got to do a little maneuvering since that lovely tree wants to block my path. Is it that important to have to buy a bunch of like Bigfoot t-shirts, books, and hang out with a couple of people that have, you know, spoken at every other conference since the beginning of the organized Bigfoot community, that you have to risk being infected by something that I know has killed 3 people that I know, not all of whom were old? First sign of tracks. Potential moose track, but really nothing so defined. And it's soft mud, it would be. Then we get into, that's just terrain. Alright, so quick opportunity for a nice view though. We're walking by this little beaver pond here. Possibly recognized from previous photographs I've taken of it. Ow. That hurt. Give me a second with that. Ow, 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 and ow. Alright, sorry. Hopefully I'll walk that off. Shit, that's the first time I've hurt my knee this year. Anyway, is it really that important that we have that happen? I'm not going to get into a political thing about it, but I can only hope that they have masks being necessary and they're taking precautions to social distance and all the related guidelines. When I was talking about the dew before, this is specifically the stretch where you're going to get soaked if this was dew covered. Really no way to avoid. I guess my knee will survive this. But it just seems to me that doing that is just massively irresponsible and putting a lot of people at risk. Ah, shit. And you really have to question somebody's motives in doing that, because, again, the means of making a profit. All right, hold on. We found tracks, I think. This could just be artifacts, but I'm going to do this. You be the judge if I'm getting that. And then there's a whole slew of stuff in here, but this is like a weird shape. It's long and skinny. If I'm getting this, and there's a bunch of them, and they kind of go that way. Sorry, that way. Or meander through here. And it could be people, but the definition isn't really that great, so no assumptions made. Let me think about what I want to do here. Gonna kind of pop through here real quick and see if there's anything beyond here. If I can get back out to the road, so to speak. Then I'll get back on my rant. I guess that was it, mud. But it makes me more enthusiastic for going into this area looking for tracks. Those weren't number 3 per se, if it was them, but nice spider web if I'm getting that. Anyway, yeah, I guess this is an op-ed where it just seems to me like that's just a really, really irresponsible thing to do. Give me a sec. But, you know, if you want to go, that's great. And they're not the only one either. There's a couple down south, but that's the thing. From a northeasterner, our local government has a travel advisory. And basically it covers 30 out of 50 states. Most of which are literally south of the Mason-Dixon line, Ohio, and parts of the West Coast, with the sole exclusion of either like Oregon or Washington. Ruffled grouse just took off up here. I don't know if the audio got that or not, but lovely thing about this trail, many places you can walk right up on something and not try too hard. Never walked up on a moose before, but anyway, with me yapping into the camera, that's my thought on that. Probably you rabidly disagree, or I've offended your friends or anything like that. Don't be shy. If you feel you have a right to defend that, you go right ahead. I think my point is sound. However, it's just a really irresponsible thing to do. And quite honestly, at least in the case of some, given the reputation of the venue, it reeks of greed. Again, one can only hope that they're taking the right precautions. And I'll leave that there. So I'm going to leave this segment there to partly save battery on the camera, and we'll be back in a bit. All right, we're back. Drone part is over. Got some decent flight, some minor technical issues, but the drone was recovered. We have the footage. We can edit that later, of course. We're going to head in and look for some tracks and see what we come up with. We're going to be quiet for a sec, though. And overlooking this, gotta watch this. I already kind of tweaked my knee a little bit, and this is kind of steep, so we're gonna kind of go slow on this. The beaver dam is still here. This is the fun part where we hopefully don't slip and make this any worse. Okay. Yeah, we did something to it, but here we are. Quick view. We're going to go over that way where it gets a little more visible, but I can already see we're following moose tracks. You can't see this trail, you're not looking. The other fun is not getting your feet wet, because this is always a muddy area. I think there's a frog or a toad or something. But I guess the real hope is that this doesn't really I guess that's as much zoom as we have on that. Nice of the fly to land on the lens too, huh? Anyway, let's see what we got. There's going to be a day I bring my fishing pole out here too, because there was a guy in here a couple years ago when I was hiking around out here, and he was pulling trout out of this like nobody's business. Just so folks are, I guess we can walk around this. I just got to remember, if I come back here and find that big boot print, that was mine. That's all. All right, so not a lot of rain, so you should probably get in here pretty well. All the tracks I'm being seen though right now are moose. We go, this is where we kind of walk away from the water a little bit. Shit. Trying to keep the strain on my knee to minimum. I did definitely do something to it. But go inland for the path of relatively least resistance. And a little drier too. But anyway, let's have a look. We'll go over that way a bit. And yeah, I guess we'll wrap up our rant on conferences. Of the two that I know of, you have the obvious Ohio one. I think I said in a previous video, and if I'm wrong, somebody please correct me, I think the international one was called off due to COVID and things like that, which would be the responsible thing to do. But for the, actually, tracks? Nope, nothing. But for the ones that are going forward, I can only hope that you're doing the responsible thing. And if not, well, something to bear in mind in the future, guys. Their motivation versus not. Wouldn't mind getting up in there for a bit too, before we potentially change venues, but we're not done here yet. Basically just got here. The part you didn't see when I was flying the drone for about 25 minutes. Hold on. Deep print, moose print. More moose prints. We always usually end up following Bullwinkle's footsteps through here. Oh yeah. Just saw one of the big tracks too. It's a big bull. So if we did ever find him and get him on film, that would be pretty cool. Let's find our way across, because normally getting to where I want to go is involving two stream crossings. Yeah, we can do that right here. And what we're going to do is twofold. We're going to get up in that, have a look around, then we're going to head that way. And It's not too bad in here, actually. Once you get up into the eye poker stuff, it's actually fairly tame. Usually, some Bambi tracks. A little dewier in here, but okay. We're going to kind of do a line of sight thing in two directions. And the reason I'm checking in here is the elusive number 3 has left tracks in here before. Not recently, if I'm thinking maybe 2016. It wouldn't have been earlier than, it would have been later than that. And he's left tracks north of here too, so that might be indicative of him moving around a little bit. But it's also dry in here, which makes keep thinking it's quiet and then the birds sound off. If that didn't go all the way up, if the camera will play nice, I'd be wondering if this was some kind of bear or moose scrapings, but it just looks like it's part of the tree's outer state. Nice shot of the pond again. But with it being dry in here, this is the nature of the ground. It's all dry and everything. Decent undergrowth too that can hide tracks and all that from somebody who might want to find them. With all the rocks and dry ground too, it could easily be like indents of rocks that got uprooted by whatever. Again, there's clearly moose sign in here. Yeah, what little of a moose trail was over here, actually. Sort of. And like I said, we'll have a look in here real quick. And then if there's nothing here, there's nothing here. Deer tracks. We're heading toward, I don't know if you saw, you'll see it in the drone video. There's a couple of smaller meadows over here. I don't know if we're going to go all the way over to them because there's like nothing out here. Track-wise, really. Just in the way there. And if they were Squatch related, they might be watching campers at night. They weren't really that far from allowing that. This way's easier-ish. Usually I'm going to walk around the down tree. It's the ever-loving grabber bushes that I love so. You know that's not true. But not as rough as some of the stuff you saw me go through a couple of videos ago where I was walking behind that swamp. This area is a little bit more tame. I guess we're going all the way to the meadow. Not that it was really that far, but deer. Looks like a heel drag very briefly, but it's a deer track. Anyway, yeah, it's kind of dry and not conducive in here, but here's a muddy spot. Moose, 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 no Bigfoot. And literally following a moose trail, and the moose with the tracks to prove it. He keeps going that way. We're not going to go all the way that way. There's a trail here, and over that way through those trees would be the second one, I think. And we're not going to do that completely today. There was the point being, I have kind of the cheat that I did the drone flight over it already, and I've already kind of had a look at the area. Some might consider that cheating. But it also lets you look where you're stepping too, in a way. So I kind of do a combination of both now. I obviously still get in here, but I have a look before I step, which is, you came this way. Although I always seem to find my way through these damn things, which I really am not the biggest fan of. Okay. So we made it. Oh, we went around this way. Made it this far. We're going to go a little bit the other way. Just when I said there's nothing here, there's, let me do this right. This poo pile, which is moose. But that seems to be the extent of our discovery so far. Lots of bullwinkle, and I gotta kind of pay attention here for a minute. Because when I mentioned about not knowing where my feet are, there's a lot of little branches from that down tree I look out for. But okay, we are back on that trail. It looks like a normal trail. It's probably more of a moose trail though. But we'll keep doing this. Heading back this way. And again, it's all dry in here. It's kind of like dry, mossy ground. And I might want to, how the heck could I go here? I was over there more. Let me think about this. Let's backtrack. Because I didn't walk through this stuff before. I was over here more. A little bit more over here where it's more of a trail. Kind of navigating out loud. Got jabbed in the arm. It's not a full day out. I don't have a couple of freaking fresh wounds from being jabbed by eye pokers and the like. But yeah, this is better. Mildly. But yeah, we're bleeding. There you go. So nothing major, just a scratch, but enough to bleed. A little more blood for the cause. Just trying to more or less backtrack the way we came and not make things, that's not, son of a bitch, the way we came. And that's the way we came. Actually, regarding what I did to my knee, I think what I got to worry about is when I drive home, the 2-hour drive home is going to hopefully not stiffen it up too much. Because that's usually when something like that is at its worst, when you don't actually move it too much. Resting it immediately is something of a mistake if you want to mitigate a wrench of a muscle or something like that. Normal range of motion. Take it easy, obviously, but don't. Now you're getting sports medicine out of me. More, don't beat the crap out of it. Don't lay there and cry about it and let it get all stiff on you either. You'll pay for that. But there's your basic proof. You can see through there that that's a beaver dam, because that more or less is the dam, or one of them. And suddenly got muggy in here. Saying it wasn't that hot before, but it is muggy. So it's like 63 and muggy at this point, but that's about normal. So noted.